Okay, so this is Excal. This is his first ability. Slash dash. This is his second ability, Radio Howl, third, and so forth. Not exactly the best place to be showing abilities, but so first ability does a charge like this. And it will keep charging at enemies regardless of where they are. As long as there's an enemy in front and you keep pressing the first ability, he will charge at them.
When you are ready, go to extraction.
Second ability does a blind attack. As soon as I see an enemy, I'll do the blind attack. And the blind attack is basically used to get you out of a sticky situation and also used to kill more enemies. Because if they're blinded, they cannot hurt you or hit you. Thus you could survive longer. Third ability is forward down slash. And fourth ability, you just turn your weapon into a blade. You could just do melee damage with regards to just slashing continuously. This is the most powerful of his abilities. Because it's a DPS weapon and it does massive amount of damage. So that's his most powerful ability, his fourth ability. Massive damage is done through his power sword. Or exalted sword. Or exalted blade. So that, yeah. This is DPS Warframe. This is also crowd control Warframe. And it's mainly a DPS Warframe, forward-based Warframe. So the damage is not like an AoE blast type Warframe. You have to be facing towards the enemy in order to do damage output or powers to affect the enemy forward. But not directly forward, more like in an arch forward. So if you could see to the left and you could see to the right in front of you, any enemy, regardless of how far they are to the left or to the right, still gets affected. So it's an arch forward ability. And I already showed it in mission. So I'm going to show it just one more time. Just to make things real quick. And move on to the next. And which should be Equinox. All right.
Deserve your respect. Honor them with quick deaths, and I with your victory.
First ability. As long as you have NG, you could keep using your first ability over and over again.
You have collected enough reactant to open your
So I'll
weapon.
just say that again. As long as you have enough energy, you can keep using your first ability over and over again. In fact, you could use your first ability even if there's no enemy in front of you. It's kind of pointless to do so, but at least you'll be able to. First ability is a charge ability. Second ability is a blind ability. Third ability is a downward slash ability,
Let's go.
which is 360, I believe. Or might fall under the same category of a 180. As long as you can see far to the left or far to the right, you will hit any enemy within that vicinity.
You have broken their ranks and they are on the run. Another successful mission. Find extraction.
And of course, the fourth ability is his sword, his Exalted Blade, which you then turn your melee weapon into a laser weapon, an exalted weapon. Well, not really laser, more like a unique type of katana as power base.
A valuable lesson.
And that was Excalibur. So now back to Equinox. This is Equinox. This is Equinox power. This Equinox is a unique Warframe, just like every Warframe are unique. But this one is more unique than most Warframes. Out of every Warframe in this game, I believe 5 are very unique, and others are just randomly unique. This one is very unique. It has the ability to buff allies. It also have the ability to give them power strength as well. And it also has ability to turn itself into either its night form and its day form. Typically form into a male or female counterpart. In other words, your day form is your male and your night form is your female. And they both do individual powers, because this is not a single Warframe. This is 2 Warframes that are formed or squished into one. So whoever created this Warframe took 2 individual Warframes and decided that they wanted to go experimenting. And what they did is they experimented by fusing 2 Warframes together. So that's why this one is called Equinox. It's the fusion of 2 different Warframe types. Or this one Warframe was supposed to design to split into 2 halves of itself. So it's not like they really took 2 different Warframe altogether. It was just created to have 2 split versions of itself, be able to transform into 2 versions of itself. So it didn't go around the solar system looking for 2 different type of Warframes and fuse them together. It was just built to be able to transform into one or the other. Alright, so knowing the powers, which is present here, metamorphosis, transform into different types. Second ability is Rest and Rage, as is stated there. Puts targets to sleep in night form. As in night, makes you go to sleep. And then this one in day form, it makes you more invulnerable towards damage in day form by using this. Night form as well, you take less damage in night form using your third ability, because the enemies are, or your Warframe has the ability to take reduced damage during the night form. And of course in day form, it increased the power strength of your other allies that are within your team. The third ability is probably one of the best abilities in the game, and it's also very helpful, especially when you're doing long survival. But you have to build it for power strength. However, I would say if you're going to be using the day form for assisting your fellow Warframes with regards to power strength, you must understand the day form is kind of a weakling, and the night form is kind of the tankier version, because his sole purpose is to make other people stronger to make himself stronger, but he's not concerned with making himself, as in himself stronger, making their weapons, making his power stronger, but not making himself stronger. Whereas the night form Warframe is solely to make the physical Warframe stronger, not the weapons or what type of ammunition or what type of power they're using stronger. So day form make weapons and power stronger. Night form makes Warframe stronger. Best way to describe it. And of course, third ability does exactly the same as the second and the third. And the fourth ability does exactly as the second and the third. And it says it right here. Increase replenish shields in night form. So anything that has to do with healing your armor, healing your shields, and healing your health, that's night form. Anything that has to do with damage towards an enemy, that's day form. Day form is male, night form is female. How you be able to tell the difference? The one that's in day would typically have lighter color because it's day. The one that's in night will have a darker color because it's night. Easiest way to remember it. So this Warframe is, as I'm standing right here, is the night form, because it has mostly dark colors on it. I only have it like this because I decided to put it like this, but this is its true colors. I gave him colors because I wanted to put colors on them, but this is how the night form looks. So for default, I'm gonna go with how the night form looks. It's easy to tell your day from your night. If it's wearing mostly black or it has mostly black colors, that means it's day form. I mean night form. If its color turns completely white, it's day form. Alright, so we'll test this out in combat, and we'll move on to the next Warframe. Actually, I think that's Kuva. Yeah, it's no good. That's Kuva. Alright, Assault. Let's try Assault. Unlike the last video, that one could go for about 2 hours. This is a PlayStation uploaded video, so I might be able to only squeeze in 10, maybe 5, depending on how fast I go. So I'm going to try to make this
Their
one
rage is
faster.
vehement, their focus impressive. Give them all warriors' death.
The fortress entrance is heavily reinforced. You'll need that multicoil to destroy the gates.
Okay, as you can see, the problem with the Equinox, that's the reason why I changed the color of this Warframe. Whoever designed the Equinox, you can't distinguish the day from the night. The damn night is wearing more white than the day is. That's why I put white on the Warframe, so when you turn to day, you could tell that it's actually day because it's white color. So I forgot that the default version of Equinox, they really screwed up the color. Another helpful tip if you're going to use an Equinox, the moment you cast your second ability and you see they go to sleep, that means that should be an indicator that you're in night form. Because only the night form can put enemies to sleep. The day form can't do that.
Done. The cannon's telemetry has been reconfigured. Return to the cannon and pull the trigger.
A good example of how to use Equinox properly is the Acolytes. If the Acolytes is strong, you just switch to the day form in order to increase your party's ability strength. That's the good part about the Equinox Warframe. It can buff your party's ability strength. There are many Warframes that could do that.
Direct hit. The galleon has been obliterated. Now return to the telemetry system and make sure the cannon stays silent. The targeting mechanism is out of commission.
But the only difference between this and other Warframes with regards to buffing them is that this Warframe's buff follows her or him, where other people you have to be within range in order for the ability to affect. Once you cast this Warframe, the ability stays on. As long as you have it on, it will stay on. And if your fellow Warframe players are within the vicinity of its 360 buff range, they get that power strength buff. So that's the main difference between this Warframe that buffs and other Warframe that buffs. Where they cast it once, it buffs everyone if you're within the vicinity. Whereas this one buff, whether you're in the vicinity or not, it then moves to the area that you are, and then all of a sudden it buffs you thereafter. That is the one uniqueness about this Warframe. A special uniqueness about this Warframe. Its buff travels with it. So if you believe that you want to play the Equinox Warframe, and you believe that you think Equinox is okay, remember, this is one of the only Warframes, or one of the few Warframes, that its buff travels with it. So it doesn't matter where your power range is, as long as it casts it on, it will move with this Warframe. So if you move out of its range, you don't get the buff, but the moment it moves close to you and you're within its range, it gives you the buff. So that's one of the uniqueness of the Equinox. The same with Harrow. The Harrow does the same thing. His powers travels with him. Alright, so on to the next. Equinox Excalibur. We're now on to Frost. This is the Frost Warframe. This is the Frost ability of the Frost Warframe. This is a buff Warframe to buff you. This is a 360 degree AoE Warframe. In other words, it does damage in its area at a 360 degree. So it doesn't matter if the enemy's behind you, in front of you, side of you. So this is both a forward damaging Warframe and a 360 degree area Warframe. A lot of people like that. Not many people like just single target Warframes or 180 degree area Warframes. Many times when you're in a sticky situation, they prefer Warframes that can hit enemies regardless of where they are. As long as you have enough range and you cast the ability, it will damage the Warframe regardless if they're behind you, whether you could see them or not. This is one of the Warframes that can do this. And this Warframe also have one of the best debuffs with regards to stripping armor, or at least reducing armor. So its armor reduction is based on its power strength. The stronger you give it power, the more armor it removes from the enemy. The stronger you give it more strength, the more damage its ice does to enemy. So the ice not just damages the enemy, the ice also reduces their armor. So more strength equals more armor reductions. More strength equals more armor defense. The sole purpose of this Warframe is to do two things. One, buff your allies, and two, reduce an enemy's armor. This is not really a DPS Warframe. This is mainly a defense Warframe for buffing allies or targets, or defending targets, and for increasing the damage reduction of said enemies onto you, and to strip the armor or to reduce the enemy's armor once the ice is on them. So that's the purpose of this Warframe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I believe the B stats, and I'm going to use power strength that gives you 1000 explosion damage and armor reduction of 152. So freeze does a single target forward blast. Ice wave does a forward single target to a 180 target range. Not just one target, but anything within from your far left to your far right. So it not just hits a single target, but it goes outwards into an arch. So it starts from single forward, and then it goes outwards into an arch. Third ability is the defense, in order for protecting a target, protecting an ally, protecting anything that you don't want to take damage, or you don't want anyone to damage. You can make this stronger, and it will be incredibly difficult for the enemy to shoot through it and damage the target, because your globe is extremely strong based on power strength. So it says right here, area damage is 381 based on my power strength. Health of the globe is 12,890.5. And the health represents how much strength you've given to your warframe. So the stronger you make your warframe, the more health the globe has. And that's how they can't shoot through. So they have to shoot through the health first before they could get towards the target. Sometimes a bullet goes through, sometimes a bullet doesn't go through. Many times they don't go through. Every now and again you might have one or two stray bullets that goes through, but most of the times every single bullet, bombs or whatever, have to first destroy the health completely before they could get towards the target itself. Fourth ability is to strip, or in this case to reduce the armor of the enemy, and you could increase this with regards to power strength. So if the power strength is very high, the armor reduction will also be very high. Thus, if you shoot the enemy once or twice or even 4 or 5 times, or maybe just one time, they'll die in one shot. So if the moment it goes over 100, it's more likely that an enemy will take 1 or 2 shots, or they will die straight off if they're lower than 100%.
Oh, I win! I'm having so much fun with you, little meat. Ooh, what shall we play next?
For this exercise, I'm going to be using a defense target in order to show the example of this warframe defending a target and also reducing the enemy's armor as well. Make no mistake, the enemy takes a lot of damage from the ice, and if they're weak, the ice will kill them. But if they're not weak, it'll just freeze them and reduce their armor. His sole purpose is to reduce armor and defend targets.
Only with true mastery of the Tenno arsenal will you succeed.
You can straight out kill enemies with your fourth, but that solely depends on how much power strength you have on this warframe. Another imperative thing to remember with regards to this warframe is that even though it has a lot of health for the globe, which is the third ability, which I just did, if I walk inside the globe, you see the circular globe that's around. You could cast it multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every time you cast the ability of his third, his snow globe, what it does is it doubles. It doubles the amount of health towards the globe itself. So at base it had like 12,000. I just double it every time I did it. So it's probably like about at 70 or 80,000 or something like that. No, not even, probably like 50,000. I did it 5 times. Thus the enemy now has to get past that 50,000 health in order to damage the shields a lot. However, they can walk inside of the globe. The globe's sole purpose is to ensure that no one shoots from a range outside of it and damage inside of it. But once they walk inside of the globe, they can start doing damage to the target itself. When it comes to single defense target, it's best to just have like 145 range. When you're doing interception missions, it's best to have longer range. So it's very important to remember that if it's single small target within a small vicinity like this, your range shouldn't be more than 145. You can't really see the globe because I've made it into invisible looking globe so that people could see outside of the globe. Otherwise it becomes a pain in the ass when you add like fancy colors to it, because then you can't see the enemy. First ability freezes the enemy. This enemy is now frozen. The duration and the power strength will be cast on this enemy. Eventually will have to be worn off. And then he can move forward. That's the first ability. Second ability is a wave. 180, it goes outwards and eventually it freezes the enemy, or it casts freezing effect on the enemy. Fourth ability does a 180, or no, a 360 blast, which reduces armor by a large rate. So when you're in a pickle, always cast the fourth ability, because it will greatly reduce the enemy's armor.
Very good.
And that was basically the Frost Warframe. So that's 1, 2, 3 Warframes. Might be able to get 2 more out the gate as fast as possible. But it all depends on how fast I move. I doubt I'll be able to do 10. But due to the shitty network, I have to deal with what I got. So this is Gara. And like Frost, she is a buff Warframe. She buff others and she also defends target. Many people believe this Warframe is much better than Frost because she has more unique abilities that he does not. And she's not as limited as he is when it comes to defending a target and survivability. And she has also a very distinct fourth ability, which is she could destroy fourth ability with her first ability. So yeah, very good Warframe, and it's good for debuffing enemies and also good for defending targets. If you were to choose between one and the other, it solely depends on what you're looking for. One that could reduce an enemy's armor and cast cold damage onto an enemy, which means if you're going to be fighting enemy that are weak against cold, more than anything, you will always want to use a Frost. But if you want to use a Warframe that could damage basically anyone other than those who aren't weak against cold, then this is the Warframe that you would use. So, first ability, Shattered Lash. Second ability, Splinter Storm. Third ability, Spectre Rage. Fourth ability, Mass Vertify. Or Vitrify, or that's, yeah, Mass Vitrify. Okay, so out of these abilities, which are good, which are not? First ability is very good because it assists with the fourth ability. Synergize with that, especially when you want to kill a lot of enemies. Second ability is good for protecting her with regards to if anyone starts shooting her. She takes less damage with regards to anyone shooting her from the back or to the sides or to the front. So it's like glass that simply travels around her to take less damage. Very good. Not the greatest defense with regards to her, but it's a boost towards her defense. Very good. Third ability is also, I wouldn't say it's one of her best, I would say it's probably her poorest one. Because very rarely do people use it a lot. They prefer other Warframes who have better crowd control ability and better range. Hers is quite less of a range and quite limited. So I would say out of all three of her, or all four of her abilities, the third one is okay. So this would make this Warframe like an A class Warframe, A plus 2 S tier Warframe, but I would say this is 100% S because not every single one of her abilities work, but most of her abilities, including her third abilities, work when you need it. So this is anywhere from an A plus 2, like an S tier Warframe, if you know how to use her well. If you don't know how to use her well, I would say this is an A plus Warframe. So I'll test the abilities out in combat and see if this is the type of Warframe that you will be into. It really sucks that my internet is giving me trouble, but work with what you got. So I'm going to try to do a quick mission. Nothing, no defense, nothing. I'll just try to find a quick exterminate. Mainly fissure missions or sabotage. And that's what I'm going to do. Alright.
Your weapons make music, and the enemy calls for a song.
The hunt is on, Tenno. The synthesis scanner is detecting a potential target. Use it. Search for traces of the target.
Your target is the reactor. Well done, Tenno. Your relic is opened. That's it. Now get out of here.
Very good.
That's it. Now get out of here.
is greater. This is good.
And that was basically the Gara Warframe in a nutshell. If you're using the fourth ability, it's recommended that you jump into the air and then use the fourth in order to increase the height of how high you want your wall to be in relations to the ground, so that no one could get above or around the wall. That's the Gara. Now moving on to the next. Very interesting Warframe. Third ability, not so much. I would consider that to be anywhere from an A plus to S tier Warframe. And this will be probably the last Warframe within this video. This is Garuda. Since I only have like 5 minutes, I will probably knock this out in just 3. This is her first ability, Dread Mirror. It basically, you hit an enemy with this first ability, and what it does is it creates a mirror so that anything that's facing in front of her, in front of the mirror, no damage can, or she takes significant less amount of damage as long as the mirror is on facing in front of her. Second ability, she hits the enemy and they go up in the air, and the blood that are within the enemy, whether it's regular blood or demon blood or whatever it is, or sentient blood, it's used in order to heal both Garuda and her allies. And it's recommended that you use this with range. The further the range is, the further your Warframe can run out of it and into it in order to help herself. Third, Bloodletter, the least of these abilities, or substitute ability or armor in order to give herself power strength. So she takes from her armor in order to give herself power strength to kill an enemy faster. I wouldn't recommend it if you don't know how to use her a lot. Third ability is also one of the great abilities of this Warframe. She basically does a 360-degree spike attack, where she shoots spikes out of her body and kill an enemy in a 360-degree vicinity. So this is both a forward Warframe and a 360-degree Warframe. I would say her first ability, her second ability, first ability is second, and third are her best ability, and I believe her third might be her worst ability. So I will do this in like probably 2 minutes. Cast all 4 of her abilities like 2 minutes within the mission, and that should be the description of Garuda and the end of this video.
We need to destroy the reactor. That's it. You opened the relic. Finish your mission and we'll take a look inside. That's it. Now get out of here.